What is going on, everyone? My name is the California Cougar, and welcome back to another episode of the Survivor Season Review series. Today, we are reviewing Survivor Winners at War. This is the 40th season of Survivor, and as of right now, it is the last season of Survivor that has been completed, and I have not reviewed yet, so for now, this will be the final review in the Survivor Season Review series, at least until Season 41 comes out. I will review that once that comes out, but we don't even know the theme of that season right now. So, yeah, anyway, Survivor Winners at War. This is basically a culmination of the previous 39 seasons, except this is an all-winner season. So, basically just take 20 of the 40 past winners, or I guess 38, technically 38 people had won Survivor. 20 of them were chosen to compete on an all-winner season. There's some new twists. The Edge of Extinction is back. There's fire tokens. And there's a couple of other new twists that were introduced, like the extortion advantage. So, yeah, a lot of crazy stuff happening this season. Let's get right into it. So, Survivor Winners at War overall was, I would say, a generally well-received season, and for good reason, because Survivor Winners at War is a very, very good season. Looking back on it, would I say it's the best season ever, like some people? I don't know. Probably not. I don't really think it's, like, the best, but it's definitely up there, I would say. It's a very, very good season. From its cast, which there are a few surprises on the cast, but overall it was a very good cast, I would say. It's got a lot of great moments. The gameplay here, oh my god, we'll talk about that. Edge of Extinction, I thought was a vast improvement over Season 38. We'll talk about that. And there were a couple of disappointments with the season, but they're really far and few between, and overall it doesn't really detract from the season. I do think the positives heavily outweigh the negatives, but let's talk about this. So, the cast. Obviously, 20 previous winners, right? So, we're taking previous winners. So, the cast, we've got Natalie Anderson, winner of Survivor San Juan del Sur. We got Amber, winner of Survivor All-Stars. We got Danny, Guatemala. Ethan, Africa. We've got Tyson, Blood vs. Water winner. We've got Boston Rob, Survivor Redemption Island. We've got Parvati, Micronesia. Sandra, both Heroes vs. Villains and Pearl Islands. We got Yule from Cook Islands. We got Wendell from Ghost Island. We've got Adam from Millennials vs. Gen X. We got Sophie from South Pacific. We've got Kim from One World. We've got Jeremy from Cambodia. We've got Nick from David vs. Goliath. He's the most recent winner on this season. We've got Denise from the Philippines. We've got Ben from Survivor Heroes, Healers, Hustlers. We've got Sarah from Game Changers. Michelle, Koran. We've got Natalie, or I already talked about Natalie. And, of course, we've got Tony from Cagayan. So, a couple of omissions that did surprise me here. The omission of Richard Hatch doesn't really surprise me. I wasn't really expecting him to be on the season. Tina not being on this season does kind of surprise me, though. She was a pretty big player in Blood vs. Water. Probably could have won that season had she just survived that final tribal. So, yeah, her omission is a surprise. Vesepia, I cannot believe Vesepia was not called onto this season, because she wasn't even called, I don't think. So, yeah, that was surprising. Brian is not too surprising. The guy's a garbage person. I don't think production likes him at all, so not too surprising. Jenna Maraska. I do wish they had at least contacted Jenna Maraska, but I'm fine with her not being on this season, honestly. Chris. Chris is another one that surprised me. I thought Chris, and by Chris I'm talking Vanuatu Chris, not Edge of Extinction Chris. Vanuatu Chris. Yeah, I am surprised that Vanuatu Chris was not on this season. He's one of the biggest underdog stories out there. Tom, not too surprised by Tom's omission. He's a little bit up there in age, I think. So I don't know how competitive he would be. But, I mean, I would have liked to see him, but I don't really have a problem with him being omitted here. Aris, I don't think production likes Aris very much anymore, so not too surprised by his omission. Earl. Apparently, Earl was called to be on this season, but he couldn't do it because, like, I guess he was having a daughter be born, or, yeah, like, I remember somewhere he couldn't come because of the birth of his daughter, so, yeah, it does suck. I would have liked to see Earl on this season, but, I mean, family comes first, so what can you do? Todd. I wish Todd was at least asked to be on this season. Kind of a shame he wasn't. Bob, no surprises there. We didn't really need to see Bob again. Natalie White, same thing. No surprise there. Didn't really need to see her either. What else? So, let's see. I talked about Natalie. Fabio. I do wish Fabio would come back. I'd like to see Fabio again. And then I think everyone else from there, like season 22, 23, 24, 25. Cochran. Cochran didn't want to do it, apparently. I think they asked him, but he didn't want to do it. I don't really mind. I don't need to see Cochran again. Let's see. We already talked about Tony. Mike. Little surprised Mike isn't on here. I think Mike would have been someone that people would like to see again. He would have been cool to have on here. And then I think season 1 through season 37, or season 31 through season 37, all 7 of them were on this season. So, yeah. And then Chris Underwood was not on this season. Doesn't really surprise me. I don't really care. And then season 39, obviously, the cast was already announced by the time season 39 even premiered, so no surprise there. So, yeah, like, I do wish that people like Earl, Todd, Tina, they would have come back. I would have liked to see them again, but honestly, like, I'm fine with this cast. Like, this cast overall did a good job, I think. Amber, like, she knew what she was doing. Unfortunately, she had Rob on the island as well. I definitely think that hurt her game here. I feel like she would have done much better without Rob. And then when she was voted off, she essentially just became like, okay, I'm going to help Rob any way I can. I guarantee you that's the only reason she did not leave Edge of Extinction, is because she wanted to help Rob as much as she can, and she stayed to help him out. So, yeah, not too surprised by how well she did. The woman doesn't age, though, I swear to God. That woman is still as beautiful as ever. Rob definitely got a lucky one there. Danny, disappointing this season, to say the least. I would have liked to see her do well, but unfortunately she really didn't. She got kind of caught up in the wrong alliance at the wrong time. Ethan, kind of the same thing. Just wrong alliance, wrong time. I mean, he was with Rob and Parvati. That was his main 2 allies. Parvati, I think, was his main ally, and then Rob was obviously aligned with Parvati. So, yeah, like, I would have liked to see Ethan go farther, but not much you can do there. Boston Rob, of course. Boston Rob, the guy still plays. Like, it was nice to see him play as hard as he did. Unfortunately, I think he played too hard, and that's ultimately what cost him. Although, I would argue he got swap screwed big time, because when the tribe swap happened, it switched from 2 to 3 tribes. Rob was put on a tribe with 2 people from the other tribe, in Sarah and Sophie, and 2 people from his own tribe, and those 2 people from his own tribe happened to be the 2 people that disliked him the most, that being Ben and Adam. So, yeah, Rob was just kind of caught up in a bad situation there. There was really no getting out of it. He did look for an idol, but unfortunately Sophie beat him to it. So, yeah, and I mean, no one, like, Amber was so bad at getting advantages on the Edge of Extinction, she couldn't help him out either. So, yeah. Parvati, she was good this season. I do wish she had gone farther. She was put on a tribe with Michelle and I think 3 DeCall members, I believe. So, she was kind of on the outs. Although, fun fact, Yul Kwan, the only person to ever successfully vote out Parvati. Like, the only time Parvati's ever been voted out was when Yul was voting, and Yul voted for her both times. So, yeah, good job, Yul. Speaking of Yule, he was kind of disappointing this season as well. He was my winner pick at the beginning of the season. I was hoping that he would go all the way to the end. He's one of the smartest players ever in Cook Islands. Like, he was one of the smartest players out there. And I thought he was going to do well. I thought he was going to kind of fly under the radar as this old school player and just kind of go under the radar. Because you did not want to be too out there this season. I'll tell you that right now. You did not want to be too out there. Because the gameplay was incredible and wild. Sandra's blindside was fantastic. We'll get into that. But, yeah, I mean, people kept her around because they thought she wasn't a threat. So, I mean, they thought wrong, obviously, except for Denise, who we'll talk about. But, yeah. And then the merge happens, and then you get Wendell. Wendell was fine. He was kind of the villain. He was kind of playing the villain role this season, which was kind of a weird role for him. But he was all right. Adam was hilarious this season, especially when at that one tribal council. Oh, we'll talk about that, where he thinks that one symbol that kind of looks like the New Orleans Saints logo is an immunity idol. That was hilarious. We'll get more into that later. Tyson, he was a physical player. He didn't really do much though. Even when he came back from the edge of extinction, he didn't really do all that much. Sophie was one of those players that I think definitely improved her game this season. She was a lot better than I think she was in South Pacific. Unfortunately for her, she got caught up in a sniper shot, one of the biggest sniper shot blindsides ever. So, yeah, a little unfortunate for her, and she got voted out with an idol in her pocket as well. So, there's that. Kim was obviously a lot more laid back this time. She wasn't as full-on balls to the wall aggressive as she was in One World, and I think that was the right move. It got her all the way to the Final 7, so there's that. Or actually, no, it was like Final 8 or something. Final 8, Final 9, I don't remember. Jeremy continued the same strategy of using meat shields. He used people like Boston Rob as meat shields. Like, I love his meat shield strategy. It's funny, but he's a good player, and I'm glad he went as far as he did. Nick Wilson. Nick was a guy that was kind of in the middle of everything. He was kind of a neutral player, didn't really do too much, but he was kind of like that in David versus Goliath as well, where he was just kind of the guy, like he had bigger targets than him, like Davey and Christian in David versus Goliath, and then this season he kind of did the same thing, kept people like Tony around, and then he just got voted off after that. Denise, kind of the motherly figure this season. Like, Denise was fine. Wasn't great, but she was alright. But she did make one of the biggest moves of the season, arguably, and I will talk about that. Ben, I think, was a lot more likable this season. He wasn't quite as cocky. He was definitely more humble. He didn't really look for idols quite as much. Although the way he went out was disappointing. He kind of fell on the sword so that Sarah could stay in the game longer. Speaking of Sarah was great this season. Sarah was a lot better than I thought she was going to be. I thought she was going to be the first person sent to the edge of extinction, honestly. Because people were talking about in pregame interviews how they were so scared of Sarah, they didn't know what she was going to do. They were like, she went from cop to criminal. What is she going to go to this time? So they were super scared of her. So I thought she was going to go out a lot earlier in the game. She made it all the way to Final 4, and then lost the fire-making challenge to Tony, who we'll talk about. Natalie Anderson. Okay, so Natalie Anderson, obviously she was the first person voted off. She was the undisputed queen of the Edge of Extinction this season, though. She took advantage of pretty much everything, got as many fire tokens as she possibly could, got an overwhelming number of advantages along with an idol when she got back in the game, and then obviously she took advantage of the Edge of Extinction. So yeah, and we saw a lot more of her on Edge as well than we did of Chris back in the original season. So we'll talk about that more. And then of course Tony. Tony was a guy that I thought was going to be a pre-merge boot, and he was never going to make it off the edge. Like, I thought he was going to be like second or third boot or something like that from the DeCall tribe. The guy goes on to win the entire season, and he didn't even receive a single vote at any previous tribal council. That's impressive to me. Like, I got somebody like Tony, freaking Tony, one of the most notorious players ever. The guy that Russell Hantz tried to be but failed. Tony, like, his aggressive gameplay in Cagayan should have made him a huge threat. It did in Game Changers, and then he comes back and, like, but he knew what he did wrong. Like, he knew he had to stay back. He couldn't go nuts at the beginning of the game, even though he wanted to. He knew he had to, like, stay around camp and not go out hunting for idols, otherwise he was going to have a big target on his back. So he knew what he was doing this time, and it was fun to watch. Especially, I think he was the one with the shark. Was he, like, and he was hilarious this season, too. I think he was the one with the shark, where he's, like, holding the shark, running around with it, and everyone is, like, mocking him in confessionals, like, ah! That was a hilarious moment of the season. But, yeah, that's the cast. Let's talk about some of the gameplay. This gameplay, oh my god, 100 mile an hour out of the gate. We had no idea what was going to happen. The tribal councils were nuts. People are dumping their bags out looking for idols at the first two tribal councils. It's like, what is even happening? Boston Rob is trying to take over his tribe immediately. And, like, Ben, he gets Ben to tell him everything, even though Ben doesn't want to do it. And, like, Danny, I guess Danny was the one who told him originally that Ben was lying. Like, people were telling him stuff, even though they knew he was the biggest threat. So, yeah, he was playing super hard and super well, too. Again, I'm fairly confident, had he not gotten swap screwed, he would have gone a lot farther in the game, possibly even to the merge. But, I mean, we'll never know because he got swap screwed. So, yeah, there's that. And then, like, some of the votes were interesting this season. I mean, the Amber vote was kind of expected. Like, some of the votes were predictable, like the Amber vote, the Boston Rob vote. We kind of knew what was going to happen. But, like, yeah, like, just the gameplay was wild this season. We never knew who was going to go home for, like, almost all the tribals, honestly. And then we have Adam with the idol on the podium at Tribal Council. Again, the New Orleans Saints logo. I'm just going to call it that because that's what it reminds me of. Like, he tries to pluck that off the pedestal, and he's like, I want to play it. He's trying to pull this 500 IQ move. He thinks he's pulling a 500 IQ move, and it was hilarious. It was absolutely hilarious. So, yeah, like, that was super funny. So, yeah. Now, two of the biggest moves this season. You have the Sandra boot. Oh, yeah, by the way, Sandra bench. I thought that was funny. Like, everyone's calling it the Sandra bench because she sits out every single challenge because she sucks at challenges. So we have the Sandra boot, where basically Sandra and Denise are talking with each other. Sandra's like, I will vote with you if you give me a fire token or something like that. Or I will play an idol for you if you give me a fire token or something like that. And Denise played that perfectly. Sandra played her idol on Denise. And then, let's see, I'm trying to remember exactly what happened. Or no, Denise played an idol on herself. I think, did Jeremy play an idol too? I forgot what happened exactly at that tribal. But all I know is, like, Sandra and Denise were, like, conspiring for fire tokens, I think. They were trying to make a deal with fire tokens, and then Denise ends up playing an idol on herself. Let's see, I gotta look up what the move was here. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, so, yeah, basically what had happened was that, like, Tony was out making spy shacks again. And then, yeah, then Denise and Sandra make a deal where Denise pays one fire token to Sandra, and they would play the second token after Tribal, or she would pay the second token after Tribal. And then Denise plays her idol and votes out Sandra. It was something along those lines. I don't remember the exact move. I have to watch it again. But yeah, it was a fantastic move by Denise. She was dubbed the Queen Slayer after that. And of course, she then went pretty deep into the game and arguably could have made it could have won the game with that move. So there's that. And then, of course, the other big blindside this season was the Sophie boot, where Tony basically pulls off. First of all, I think he gets hit with the extortion advantage in this episode, where I think Parvati sends it to Tony in order to. And then he's like, oh, you have to pay 6 fire tokens or something like that. Otherwise, you don't get to participate. I don't remember if it was participate in the immunity challenge or lose your vote. But it was one of those. And then Tony ends up winning the challenge. Let's see. So what was it? Oh yeah, it was. Oh yeah, they would be forced to sit out of the immunity challenge and lose their vote. So it was both. And then she played against Tony, and Tony had to find 6 fire tokens. He was able to get some from Jeremy, Nick, Ben, and I think Michelle as well. I don't remember for sure. And then Tony wins the immunity challenge, and then Sarah's trying to split the vote between Jeremy and Michelle in case one of them has an idol. And then Tony decides he wants to blindside somebody, so he talks to Nick, Jeremy, and Michelle about blindsiding Sophie. And then Jeremy was reluctant, but everyone else was up for it. He wasn't sure if he could trust Tony. And then at Tribal, everyone stuck to the plan, but Jeremy and Michelle then joined Tony and Nick in blindsiding Sophie. Sophie had an idol in her pocket. She went home. Bam! Sniper shot. And that was a big move by Tony, because Sophie was arguably playing one of the better games that season. Probably could have won had she made it to the finals. So, big move by Tony. Tony was making all sorts of moves this season. He was finding idols. He waited till the post-merge. He wanted to get past the pre-merge, but yeah, he played perfectly this season. Wait till the post-merge and then start making your moves. And then by the time he started making the moves, it was just too late to get rid of him. He was winning immunity challenges. He was conspiring with people, and he did everything he needed to do this season to win. So props to Tony for that. Tony was absolutely incredible. He's arguably the best player Survivor's ever had at this point. Nobody expected him to win this season going in. But yet he did. And his alliance with Sarah was awesome. I mean, I think he helped Sarah find an advantage early on in the game. He was helping Sarah find an advantage. And then Sarah was really good this season too. Her alliance with Tony stuck with her all the way through the end. Cops Are Us was actually a legitimate thing, and the emotion Tony showed on his face after he beat Sarah in the fire challenge. You could tell he did not want Sarah to leave the game, but ultimately that's what had to be done. So, yeah, that was fantastic. Let's talk about the Edge of Extinction, right? So, Edge of Extinction made a return this season. Not all the winners liked it. In fact, most of them didn't like it. But all but one of them stayed. Now, Sandra left the Edge. Honestly, didn't surprise me. She was terrible at challenges, so she was never going to get back in anyway. However, you're a winner of the game. You're a legend of the game. You should be staying out there, giving it your all, even if you know you can't win. Amber did it. Granted, it was to help Rob, but she still did it. Ethan stayed out there the whole time. Danny stayed out there the whole time. I don't really think they had a chance to win. So Sandra's quit was very disappointing. And honestly, I think it tarnishes her legacy just a little bit. Not as much as, if she had just quit the game outright, but I do think it hurts her legacy a little bit. So yeah, it was disappointing to see her quit. So, Edge of Extinction. Now, the fire tokens. We'll talk about those. The fire tokens, I definitely think, were something that was needed, as opposed to the last Edge of Extinction season, where you could just give free advantages to people. Make them pay for something. It was a nice little currency that could be used both on Edge and in the game to buy advantages. So I like the Fire Tokens addition. I thought it was nice because it made players work for advantages. They weren't just given to them for free, unless, of course, they found them. But, yeah, they weren't just given to them for free, like in the last Edge of Extinction season. So that was nice. Make them earn it. However, one flaw that was not addressed this season, which I'm disappointed with, was the pre-merge boots going home after the first Edge of Extinction Return challenge. I still think that Natalie, Boston Rob, Amber, Tyson was the one that got back, Yule, Parvati, I think they all should have gone home. Yes, it would have gotten rid of a bunch of legends, but still, I really think that should have been what happened. I mean, Natalie still got 4 votes after getting to the end. Imagine if Natalie had won this season. Granted, she was much better edited than Chris was. The editing was much better. I will say that. They showed a lot more of Edge. They showed a lot more of what was happening on Edge, which I think was great. We got to see a lot more of Natalie than we ever did of Chris Underwood. So that was a nice improvement. But still, I mean, it would have made all those big moves in the game pointless, especially if Tony had lost there. Because it would have made Sophie's blindside pointless. It would have made Sandra's blindside pointless. It would have made all the other blindsides in the game pointless. There were a lot of blindsides this game as well. They all would have been pointless if Natalie had won, especially since she was the first person voted out. She was the first one. Now, again, it's not Natalie's fault. She did everything she needed to do, with the exception of taking Tony on in the Fire Challenge himself, like how Chris took Rick Devens on. Natalie didn't do that with Tony, and ultimately I think that was her undoing, but still. It would have been really nice to see Natalie, at least try to compete in Fire, or, just get rid of the pre-merge boots after the first challenge. If they ever bring Edge back again, they need to do that. They really need to do that. With that being said, some of the challenges on Edge were fun to watch. There was the one where they had to run up a mountain 20 times to get a piece of wood. And then, they would get a fire token. That was Amber, Ethan, Natalie, and Danny, I believe, who all did that. Ethan collapsing, and his whole story arc was great, I thought. Ethan's story arc on Edge was fantastic, about never giving up. So, yeah, I love that. There was the other one where Boston Rob injured himself, I believe, and in another challenge where they had to go get stuff 20 times. And, yeah, he just injured himself and he couldn't compete, which was unfortunate. So, yeah. So that's Edge. Another big disappointment this season is, I think a lot of people talk about this, all the old school players being voted off pre-merge. I really wish some of the old school players had made it to post-merge. Tyson, I don't know if you can consider him an old school player. He was season 18. I guess technically he is, but when he won, that was definitely more new school, I would say. But yeah, him and Natalie were the big new school players that were voted off pre-merge. All the others were old school players, so it was disappointing to see all of them go pre-merge. But not much you can do about that. I mean, it was kind of unfair, but it's the way the game works. But yeah, there is that. Alright, so yeah, that's pretty much everything I had to say about Winners at War. I think it's a fantastic season. It's a lot of fun. It's got some great emotional moments. That finale is one of the best finales ever, I think. It's got a ton of emotion with Sarah, Ben, Tony, even Michelle and Denise. All of them showed a lot of emotion. It was great. So, yeah, with that being said, I don't think Winners at War is a perfect season. I definitely think that it has its flaws for sure, but it's definitely one of the better seasons of Survivor. And it would have been a great way to end the show if they had decided to end it. Of course, that's not happening. We're getting Survivor 41 hopefully pretty soon. But yeah, overall, I enjoyed this season a lot. I'm going to give Survivor Winners at War a 9 out of 10. Alright, and there's my review of Survivor Winners at War. I wanted to give this season a 10, but I just couldn't quite get it up there, I think. I do have those couple problems with the old school players getting voted off. And again, the same flaws that Edge of Extinction had before, a lot of them were still present, even though they're improved on, like with the fire tokens and the editing. Yeah, the whole pre-merge boot thing was still there, though. So, yeah, I do still have some problems with that. But other than that, fantastic season. So, what did you guys think of Survivor Winners at War? Make sure to let me know down in the comments below. Make sure to hit that thumbs up button if you enjoyed this review along with all my other reviews, and make sure to subscribe to my channel for more content to come in the future. And once again, this is the last season review of Survivor for the time being. We'll have to wait until season 41 comes out, but yeah, as for my next videos, not really sure what I'm going to do yet. I might do more Survivor videos, I might do some sports videos here and there. But yeah, season ranking, winner ranking, maybe who I would have voted for. You might see some of those videos down the line. So make sure to subscribe to my channel for some of those videos to come out in the future. And until that next video, once again, my name is the California Cougar. And always remember, stay California cool. Peace.